record on computer. This recording. Let me see. Okay. Hello, guys. This is Payman, your host, your friend, and today for day 3 of the 5-day podcast lead challenge. It's going to be a packed one. A lot of very valuable information. We're going to be brainstorming on what is your zone of genius, how to identify that, and then once we have your zone of genius, I will be able to identify your exact ideal client avatar. And also for that tonight, I have an incredible guest for you guys. One of my dear friend, recent alumni of my Profitable Podcasting Academy, and a superstar, a true superstar when it comes to sales, closing over $30 million in the last, I don't know what, 2-3 weeks. I'm joking, but the last few years. And yeah, she's incredible. And she's going to be here tonight to share with us some of the mindset, sales strategies, as well as her way to really, killing it in sales. So please welcome my dear friend, Jillian. Let's give her a round of applause. Come on, Jillian. That's amazing.
Hi, everyone. Great to see all of you. Thank you, Payman.
Pleasure's all mine. Always a pleasure having you. And so let's get started before any further ado. And let me check the chats. Do we have any new people here? Okay. Hello. Please give us, Ivy, I'm going to give you some time, some really good time after for you to talk and share your magic, but give us a brief intro, 1 minute. What are you? What do you do? What's your zone of genius and all that good stuff? Jillian.
Sorry, I thought you said Ivy.
I'm sorry. I meant Jillian, of course.
Oh, you bet. So you want me to give a little background?
Yes.
Okay.
Only
Awesome.
3 hours and 20 minutes. That's it. Short.
Okay. Just a short one.
Minute. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So great to see you all. My name's Jillian Deitle. I live in Helena, Montana, so in the western part of the U.S. And my background, I have about 20 years of corporate experience, but the last 10 years has specifically been in SaaS, so software sales, selling to startups, mid-sized companies, as well as large Fortune 500 companies such as Oracle. So during that time, I've closed as Payman said, about 30 million in sales. And now I have recently started my own consulting company in 2023 to help startups, typically under 10 million, go from that are in the founder-led sales process to help them increase their sales, implement a sales cycle, and get ROI back on the products that they sell. So I'm trying to take what I've learned and make a bigger impact on the world.
Beautiful. Love that. And I can't wait to hear again your incredible talk in a few minutes. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it in your busy schedule. And yeah, are you guys excited? All right, let's get going. So hopefully today we won't have any issues with me sharing my slides with you guys. Let's see. Hopefully I'm sharing the right one. Are you guys seeing my slide? Okay, let me put it to present mode. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
And when I change, slides, everything okay?
It's advancing, yes.
So I don't know what the hell happened yesterday. Yesterday wouldn't show. Anyways, mystery. Anyways, let's get going. All right. So let me check. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So thank you again. Today, let's get started. So today, it's going to be a great one. We're going to be brainstorming live and showing you also how to launch your podcast in 3 easy steps. Going to be showing you how to we're going to brainstorm to find out what is your true zone of genius, what is your gift, and what's your ideal listener's avatar, and what your podcast is going to be about, because everything is going to be a very is going to be a natural progression. There's nothing that's going to be random. Everything will flow seamlessly step by step. So we'll go to that. And then at the end, I will show you how to launch your podcast in 3 easy steps. And then we'll have our guest speaker, Jillian, share her magic with us. So let's get going. Susan is coming. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So that's the agenda. I covered it. So before we start, any questions from anything we covered yesterday for day 2? Ask away or keep your what is it? Keep your silence. Phil, what's the correct way to say it?
Forever hold your peace.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Once, twice. No questions? All right, let's get going then. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me see if I added Kimberly. Before we start. Okay, yeah. Is Kimberly here with us? Okay, let me share the oh, Kimberly's here. Okay, beautiful. Okay, let me go back to sharing. Okay, perfect. And present. All right. So, first of all, what is your zone of genius? Let's do some brainstorming together. So there's 3 ways to really find and identify your true zone of genius. The first thing I recommend is look at your professional background. Let's say you worked for 10, 15, 20, 30 years in a specific industry. Then that's where you should really start, because that's an industry you understand inside out. You have deep knowledge, you really speak the language, you understand what is the pain point of the person you're trying to help. So that's the obvious first place to start. The second way to identify your zone of genius and finding your gift is by looking at if you have any high income skill. For example, let's say you're a killer copywriter, killer salesperson, speaker, writer, anything. Look into that. Or if you have any special, if you were born, or if you developed any special talent or inner talent that you've been born with, or you excelled at, you mastered, anything. It can be can be playing the guitar, singing, sports, being someone that all your friends went to when it came to say asking relationship advice, or say about stock market or whatever. That's a great place to start as well. Or last but definitely not least, if you've overcome any major challenges, life crisis, trauma, tragedy, anything like that, because these are amazing places to really find your zone of genius, because this is what people want to pay for. This is what they want to talk to and learn from and pay. People who already walked in the shoes, been in the spot. So these are the places that I would highly recommend to look at. So let's do some quick brainstorming. Type in the chat, or let's say 2-3 people, raise your hand if you want to share some of your trying to identify some of your zone of genius by looking at these 3-4 categories. So type it in the chat, and also don't be shy, raise your hand if you want to share it with us. I heard someone.
Yeah, Louisa here. Just real quick, I solved my own problem, and now I help others solve the same problem. I was 320 plus pounds. I walked with a cane. I was a diabetic on medications and couldn't even get surgery for my hip because I was obese. So I solved my problem. I dropped 150 pounds. I got off medication. I qualified for hip surgery, so I got a new hip, and I'm much healthier than I was when I started. My zone of genius, just the evolution of it was people asking me, wow, what did you do? Because I looked so different. And I just started helping people in my local city. And then I was encouraged to help other people. And now I've been online for 3 years and really proud of the fact that I'm helping save lives.
Beautiful. And the first person that you saved his life first, other than yours, was your husband.
Yes, he was heading towards kidney failure. Yes, he went from 18 pills down to 5,
Wow.
and we generated his kidney. And yeah, so we are an example of what can happen if you take your disease, any disease you have, seriously.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's a very beautiful gift. Thank you. Johnny.
All right, I'll dive right in. I've got over 47 years in hospitality. My skill amongst that was really working with people. I'm very good at building teams and challenges. I've had a few businesses amongst that. But the biggest challenge that I had was growing up in a violent, abusive, alcohol background childhood. Kind of set patterns in my life. So hospitality, wow, there's a lot of drugs and alcohol there. So that was part of my coping mechanism. I also put on a lot of huge weight. I was one time 137 kilo. I'm not sure what that's in pounds.
That's about 250 pounds or some change.
Yeah. So I sort of hit rock bottom when I was about 30, and I went, if I keep going like this, I'm going to be dead, in jail, whatever. And people around me, friends had killed themselves, things like that. So I spent a lot of time coming back to myself and learning about life. There was nobody out there that was going to help me without giving me drugs and all of that. So I used my food as my medicine, and also learned a lot of personal development skills. So now I have Soulfire Cuisine, which is not only about using food, but also all the other aspects which I learned along the way, your mental, emotional. So it's a more holistic view around it all. So the claim to fame was I was right at the top of the game with chefing, American Olympic team, that kind of thing. But it was just my habits got in the way from succeeding at a long-term continual thing, and then I crash and burn. So I came back to New Zealand, sorted my shit out, and well, I'm still a work in progress.
We all are, brother.
Now I use my journey in that for helping others, and I work with people, youth and suicide as well now. So
thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing. Karen.
Oh, I guess we all have kind of the same story. I grew up in a household that was abusive emotionally and physically. And so early on in my life, as a very young 4-year-old, 5-year-old, I believed we had the right to be happy. And I really wished my parents had gotten a divorce. What 5-year-old would think that? And so I went through my own crap before I woke up to my belief is we all have the right to be happy. So today I work with people on mental fitness, creating their saboteurs and judge and working on top of that happiness. I'm certified in happiness studies, as well as I have and our own internal energy. So I'm a Reiki master as well. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Love that. Where is this coming from, the echo? If you're not speaking, please mute yourselves so we don't hear the echo in the background. Okay, thank you. Please take a time, or even after this call, sit some in a quiet place and seriously do this exercise, because that's going to really help you on the right path to not only building the foundation for a profitable podcast, but also for a profitable offer and business. This is very, very important because, as I mentioned yesterday, the name of the game is clarity. And this is what we're going to do today, tomorrow, and on Friday, because that is the single most important part of a successful podcast offer, as you will see tomorrow with another kilo expert, and of course, the business and all that. So, all right, guys, let's move on. So again, we all have something that people around us, friends, family, circle, associates, they know us for. When I was growing up, I used to be known as Mr. Brazil. I was obsessed with Brazil, and someone had any question, I used to live in Brazil, would come to me to ask me about that, and then other things as well. Now it's all about podcasting. So again, it can be a hobby that you're really, really, really passionate about, that people know you, that you know in your circle about. So look into that. Look into as many of those categories I mentioned in the previous slide to really find what is your true zone of genius, what is your true gift, because this is, and we will build to have your podcast to be very profitable. We're not going after the most profitable niche, because that may not be for you, but what will be the most profitable niche for you is the niche that you understand the most, that you have the most experience, so that you can you can be known and become and elevate yourself to being seen as not only the expert, the authority, the leader, but to be known as their expert, their leader, their authority. And that's one of the best ways to achieve that is by really diving deep into finding what is your true zone of genius and what is your true gifts. And that's what we're gonna do today, all day today and tomorrow. So this is very important, guys. So again, look at something that you may be known for in your circle, people know you, something that you love geeking out about. Do not discard anything, because we do all this mistake that we take for granted something that's really good at, because for us, there's nothing special, but for someone else, that is something special. So keep that in mind, guys. Take a piece of paper and write down anything that comes to mind. Do that later tonight or tomorrow, wherever you're in this world, or even this weekend, because that by itself is probably the single most important step for you to having a very profitable podcast. Because again, name of the game is clarity. So once we've done that, let's look at once you've identified what is your zone of genius, then from that, it will become self-evident who will be your ideal clients, prospects, and listeners, and audience. So we need to focus and find on one very specific person. One of the major mistakes I've noticed working with coaches in the last 4 or 5 years is that, and it's not really a mistake, because most people come from a good place, good intention. They want to help everyone with all of the issues. Let me help you with your finance, your relationships, your mindset, your garden, your kitchen, everything. That's good, but that's something only God can do. Unfortunately, we're not God. Yes, we are a piece of God, but we're not God. So we need to focus on one very specific person, one very specific pain point. So the more specific we can be, the more magnetic our messaging will be. And that's something that we'll dive deeper today, and especially tomorrow. This is what we're going to go way deep into, the messaging tomorrow. So again, guys, be a specific. Ideally, you want your avatar to be you, just a few steps ahead, maybe whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or when you were starting. You want to build your podcast and your business in a way that you wished existed when you were starting. Because when someone hires a coach, they don't want to most people don't want to work with a billionaire. Sure, it would be nice, but billionaires live in a completely different reality. Instead, they want to work with someone with 1, 2, 3, at most 4 steps ahead of them, someone that understands them, that walked the shoes just recently, and most importantly, someone that is accessible. So that's one of the best ways to really identify the one person that's going to really resonate the most, the deepest with you, with your messaging. So ideally, you want your avatar to be you, just a few steps behind you, just a few steps, say before, say 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, however long you started on your current journey. So this is my biggest tip I can give you as far as identifying your avatar. Again, the more specific, the more magnetic your message will be, because you want to be able to, in a position to, when he or she sees or reads or hears your message, they will feel, oh wow, this person understands me. She speaks my language. And they can see it, oh wow, I can identify myself in them. So be very specific on that. The more specific, the more magnetic your messaging will be. Does it make sense, guys? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me check the chats. At any time, guys, any question, just raise your hand, okay? I don't want this to be just a monologue. I want it to be interactive, engaging, and fun. Awesome. So please take some time later today or tomorrow or this weekend to really do this exercise, because this exercise is going to be one of the most biggest factors in how successful your podcast, your offers, and ultimately your business will be. Now, so once you've identified your zone of genius, your client avatar, then it's going to be self-evident what is your podcast going to be about. You see how it's progressive, guys? It's very natural. It's very seamless. It's not about, oh, I'm going to start a podcast about Bitcoin or about relationship or whatever. No, that's not how we start. Maybe the masses are doing this, and that's why the masses are not successful. That's why you hear people saying, oh, podcasting is flooded. Yes, it is flooded. But if you do it that way, but if you do it the way that I'm showing you here, and that later on Jillian is going to show you, it's wide open. You can create your own blue ocean. And this is what we want. So now, having looked at the previous 2 slides, now let's brainstorm, what is your podcast? What it's going to be about? So once we've identified your zone of genius, identify your special skill, talent, or whatever, and identified a very specific person, then it's going to become very self-evident and obvious for us what our podcast is going to be about. Let's hear some of you guys, 2-3 people, share with us. Take into consideration the last 2-3 slides. What is your podcast going to be about? Raise your hand, guys. Don't be shy. Or even also share them in the chat. Phil, go ahead, my brother. Phil?
Oh, just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so much of my past has had to do with strategic planning, which begins with a lot of the stuff you're already talking about. It's about discerning your purpose, your mission, your vision. Who are you uniquely made to be? Why has God put you into that part of the universe with that group of people? And of course, now online, we can be present everywhere 24/7. But it has to do with starting out with those basics and asking the questions, basically, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's your plan to get there? And being able to talk through those kinds of issues with podcast guests is what I'm really looking forward to. Just talking to some prospective entrepreneurs and people who have been at it for a long time. Most entrepreneurs have failed more than they have succeeded, but somehow they came back and kept going and would not quit. So that's the kind of situation I'd be looking for, the kind of people I would want to be attracted to it, and the kind of people that I would have as a guest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. Let's hear 1 or 2 more people. Let me check the chat as well. Who wants to go next? How about you, Angela? First time we're having you with us here from beautiful, my favorite country, one of my favorite countries in the world, Brazil. Come on, Angela. Vamos lá.
I was sure you were going to call me.
All right.
So as I've been downloaded these Akashic alignment tools for life and business transformation. So this is what I want to foster in the podcast. It's about life. So it's about energy, how you radiate that energy, all areas of our life. This is what I call Akashic wheel of life. And then I will facilitate these Akashic tools and how you can be highly benefited from them.
Beautiful. Love that. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. It's quite late for you in Brazil, but thank you for making it. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
One more person who wants to go next. Don't be shy. Don't make me choose you. Let's see. Sophie, let's hear you. You've been pretty quiet tonight.
Yeah, I'm sick.
Oh, sorry
I
about that.
finally accepted that it was real. I'm gonna do a podcast about respect. This is gonna talk about what respect is, how it works. It's gonna include self-respect and disrespect. I was just jotting down some ideas about like different structure for how episodes might be, and it was interesting to think about like what's the issue, what do you want out of the connection or relationship, and then in identifying that gap, what it would take to traverse that gap.
Beautiful.
Helping build skills and think through stuff like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Sending you all the fastest healing vibes of the universe, my friend, so that by tomorrow you can be back and kicking some serious butt.
Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. Very welcome. So one thing I want to emphasize once again is that you guys all know that you've spoken with me before, and I've mentioned that many times. You know, we all go through a fair share of pain, heartbreaks, betrayals, tragedy, and all that. Sure, there's a lot when we go to them, but then they become our story. Then our story becomes our gifts. Then our gifts become our duty and responsibility. So look at your life. Look at all the craps you've overcome, whether it's, God forbid, cancer, trauma, abuse, whatever it is. Look at those. These are your gifts. They happen not to you, but for you. You have to go to them to overcome them so you can learn the lesson, then take those beautiful gifts and share them with others through your podcast, to your, whether that applies to you or not, to your books, to your works, to whatever. This is one of the, from one of my deepest understanding as a result of my awakening over the last few years is exactly that. Life is a school. We come here to learn, grow, and become better, but then that's only 5% of what we are here. The 95% is taking those gifts and sharing them with others. So look at your path, look at your trajectory so far. What kind of crap, what kind of challenges you've overcome? These are your gifts. Don't discard them. This is what people want to know. People want to learn, not from people. Sure, some people, depending on the field, want to learn from people who have multiple credentials, PhDs after their name. Yes, absolutely. But most people want to learn from people who've already been there, walked in the shoes. So let's say you're going to say abuse or trauma, or say, God forbid, cancer. People want to talk to people who have already gone to that and overcome that and conquer that. So these are your gifts. Don't discard that, guys. Now, does that make sense? Any question on that before we move on? Awesome. So let me show you how easy it is to launch your podcast in 3 easy steps. So again, podcasting is not hard. It can be quite easy to, it's very seamless. It's not easy, but it's simple to launch it. I will show you how in a few minutes, how to launch it in 3 easy steps without being hard, without being a techie, without spending a ton of time and money. Step number 1 is foundation. Step number 2 is anything tech related and equipment. And step 3 is about having a successful smashing, banging launch. So let's take a look into that. So first and foremost, the foundation. This is where we need to spend the most time. And this is what I will devote the next 3 days just on that, even since yesterday. And even inside my academy is 3 weeks. The entire first week is all about the foundation, because just like when you build a house, you need to have a solid foundation. So first and foremost is, what is your purpose, your objective? Why do you want to start a podcast? Then what is the goal you're trying to achieve? What is the message trying to convey to your podcast? What is the gift, the wisdom that you want to share through your podcast? And then who are you trying to serve? What is the exact specific person you're trying to help and serve at the highest level? And that will be ideal listeners, audience, prospect, and ultimately clients. There's one more at the bottom, I think. No, okay. And then once we have that, then as you can see in this wheel, everything is self-evident. Everything builds upon the previous. Number 1, what is your objective? What is the message? Who are you trying to help? And then choosing the right type of name for your podcast, the branding, the length, the format. Should it be audio or video or both? How often should you launch a podcast? All of that, none of that is random. Everything builds upon the previous. Everything is basically it's self-evident. It just makes sense. It flows once you do it properly. Second part is the tech. Tech was one of the most common reasons that holding people back, because they're not a techie. I was one of them. I was not a techie. I'm still not a techie, but I learned what I need to learn. And this is something that's important, but it's not hard. So, and that is selecting the right type of equipment, microphone, software, and stuff like that. As long as you have a recent computer, you have pretty much 90% of what you need. You need a microphone you can grab from Amazon for about $100. You can have a very good microphone, starting microphone, and all that. And the specs and all that, you don't have to worry about that. Just get going. Just get going. Fail fast, fail forward. And then once you start making money through that, then you can invest in better equipment. And I had one of my students currently in Kuala Lumpur. Some of you may know him, Snow. He took my academy. He was a part of academy last June. And this guy went all in and he built his own studio, podcast recording studio in downtown Kuala Lumpur. And we did quite a few episodes when I was there at the start of March. So again, you don't have to go that all in like that. Just this microphone cost me $80. The first microphone I started with, I bought it for $64 on Amazon. It was good for 2 years. So again, the good news is you don't have to spend a fortune on equipment. Just get the best microphone you can afford. And the good news is that they come pretty inexpensive. All right. And then, of course, your environment. You need to be in an environment that is quiet, no distractions, no loud sounds, and that you're comfortable. So, again, so this is the microphone you see here, the Samsung QTU. That's the one I started with. It took me from 0 to 200 episodes in 2 years. Cost me $63 on Amazon. And what I recommend when it comes to getting a microphone is get a microphone that is a USB microphone that plugs direct into your computer. Especially if you're not a techie, that's the best way to start. The one I got that came with a stand. I highly recommend you get a set, so this way you're ready to go. It's turnkey. Just plug into your computer. You don't have to figure out all the audio settings and all that. You don't need to buy like an amplifier and all that. Just plug it to your computer and you're ready to go. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And once you have that, you're good to go. The only accessories you will need is just the stand and this little thing here, which is called a noise reducer. That's the only thing. And make sure that a pop screen filter, sorry, that's the right word. The pop screen filter. This is to stop, for example, when you speak too close to the microphone, when you make some sound like P and F, it can come like without like, and that stops it. That's the only thing I recommend. And most microphones, especially like this, they come with it. So that's all you need to do. Software, accessory tools, you don't need that. As long as you have a recent computer less than 3 to 4 years, you're good to go. At least to start with. Let me check. Okay. Yes, you can do it, Angela. You can do it on. I do all my videos, my episode on Zoom, and Zoom is perfect because it gives you 2 files, audio and video. It automatically extract the audio from the video. StreamYard, you can do it. I haven't used it. I'm not familiar, but I'm pretty sure you can do it. All right, let's move on. Anytime any question, type them or just raise your hand. And of course, once you have your microphone, it's plugged in, just make sure that highly recommend before you, I do it all the time. Before starting, I always test, because the last thing you want is to realize after a beautiful hour conversation, realize, oops, your computer, your microphone wasn't plugged in, or it wasn't turned on, or it wasn't connected to the right thing. So the quality can be bad, or there's no sound at all. That happened to me a couple of times. And what saved me is another tip. Always ask the other person to record as well, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You will be distracted, things will happen, you will pause, and you will forget to record. And that's the last thing you want after a beautiful conversation. So always ask the other person to record as well. And always test your equipment before going live, before recording. I do it all the time now. It's become almost like a second habit. So yeah, always test. Ensure everything is properly plugged in, everything, the software is open. Again, it's all about testing. And I have an outline, yes. And one thing I emphasize all the time is never speak from a script. Don't even speak from me, but speak from the heart. You definitely don't want your podcast to be like an interrogation, like a bunch of questions, next. No, that's not what you want. Sure, I have a structure. For example, my structure, most of you have been on my podcast, is what's your story, what's your background, what's your business, and what cause you mostly passionate about. And then beyond that, it's pretty much like an organic conversation, just like conversation we have all day long with everybody. Ask your question, depending where the question goes, that's where the conversation goes. Keep it as organic, as natural, as authentic as possible. Always speak from the heart. This is key, not just on your podcast, but also in your real life interactions. You will see a major difference. Always speak from the heart. Now, editing and uploading. Yes, editing can be time consuming, but again, I can count on one hand, or maybe 2 hands now in 3.5 years and 330 episodes, the number of times that I've had to edit. And I only edit when the guest asks me to remove something. Other than that, I keep it as organic, as authentic as possible. Let's say in the middle of the call, you have your cat, your dog, your kids that's coming and running to you. It's okay. People want to see that. That will make you much more relatable, much more humane. Because the last thing you want is to be to look too perfect. If you're too perfect and a $1 million studio, yes, that might sound nice on paper, but you will lose people because people will not be able to relate with you. You want people to relate with you and to be as authentic as possible. So it's okay if you have your cat that comes in, your dog, your kid, whatever, within reason, obviously, but be as authentic as possible. So for editing, if you have a Mac, you can use GarageBand or Audacity, which are both free. If you have Windows, Audacity as well. I have a good pair of headphones to clear here the editing part. When I started on my podcast, I was using my Beats, but I stopped using them because they were bulky. Then I started using my AirPod. Then I realized, wait a second, I don't even need them. Nowadays, I don't even use AirPods, headphones when I do any calls. The only time you might need them is if you do heavy editing, so you can really notice any background noise, anything that you want to remove. But other than that, you don't need headphones for that, at least starting off. Always add show notes, episode summary, timestamps, transcriptions, and contact info for the person on your episode. Like, for example, what's the best way to reach out to you? What's the best way to connect with you? These are something that you definitely want to include in your show notes.
Lorenzo?
Yes.
On the editing for video, Windows has Microsoft Clipchamp,
Okay.
which is also free.
Yes. Thank you.
So you can do, and Audacity is fantastic for audio only, but Clipchamp, I used it very simply. Now I'm getting more complex with it, but it works great.
What is it called?
And I like
Clipchamp?
the price.
Like
Clipchamp.
this?
CLIP, all one word.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. That's something I didn't know. I learned something new because I haven't used Windows in 12 years. So thank you. I noted this. Thank you. Awesome. So yeah. So again, editing is not hard, but it can be time consuming. But again, what I recommend is keep it as organic, as authentic as possible. Or if you want, you can, if you know how to do it, like Phil, you can learn it. I learned it because I had to. But otherwise, you can easily outsource it. There's agencies that specialize in podcast editing. There's freelancers. There's people that offer VA services and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of option out there to do it. But what I highly recommend is that first you do it yourself, so that you learn it, you understand it. When you understand the process, you will be able to hire the right person, also to reduce the risk of you being taken for a ride and being scammed online. So always learn the process yourself, so you can find the right person and not being taken for a ride. All right, next. Okay, as I already mentioned that, so I barely do any editing unless the person asks me. And when I do them, I do it on my computer using iMovie on my Mac, which is pretty easy to do. Now, hosting. Yes, hosting is where your podcast files will be located, especially your audio. For me, my podcast is primarily videos. It's mostly it's on my YouTube channel. If you go on my YouTube channel, Leaders with a Heart, you will find all the content over 325. Actually, the very last one I released was actually specifically you, Phil, episode 324 with you, part 1. We still do for part 2. So book that for next week or the week after, and we'll rock and roll. So yeah.
Yep.
So
Next week.
yep. Yeah. So hosting is pretty straightforward. You will need to find a host. There's a bunch of them out there. I can, if you don't have one, reach out to me. I can suggest some. The one I've been using is called Podbean. It's very easy, affordable, unlimited storage, and it's pretty easy to use in it. So once you upload your audio file from your computer to the dashboard of your Podbean account, then from there is just one button. You can spread it to all the other platforms such as Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Google, Spotify, and so on and so forth. Rosemary.
Yeah, just a question on that payment with the Podbean. There was a limited time for your podcast, wasn't it?
If you go with a free option, they have a limit as far as the storage, the bandwidth, which is, I believe, 800 megabyte. 800 megabyte. If your podcast so long, like mine, about an hour, it will burn to that within 2 episodes. So that's why I went with a paid one. I pay like $15 a month, and I have unlimited storage. So if your podcast is short, say under 20 minutes, and you do one a week, I think the free version is good enough for you. But if your podcast is long and you're a prolific podcast producer, you do more than one a week, say you go all in, you do one a day, then definitely you will need to invest into the paid one. Phil, you have your hand raised, Phil?
Sorry, that was an accident.
No worries. All right. All right. So once you've selected your hosting, after that, it's just a matter of submitting him. At least you will need to submit him once to apply to all these platforms, such as Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Amazon, and all that. And after that, you can each time you upload them, you can spread them automatically with a push of a button to all of these very easily. So yeah, very straightforward. Now, step 3, once you've taking care of the foundation, we have the clarity, your messaging, your offer, your avatar, and all that, and we've taken care of the tech. Now we need to focus. What do we need to do to be able to get great guests, so we can get listeners and to be able to monetize it? And when I say monetize it, I don't mean to make money through sponsorships, downloads, and ad spend and get peanuts, literally cents on the dollar from Google and from YouTube. No, that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is getting clients, high-ticket clients, interviewing your clients, building that trust and rapport, something I highly emphasized on yesterday. That's what I mean by monetizing it, even if you have no audience to start with and without spamming or ad spend. So now, some of the recommendations I can give you is before you go live, before you publish your podcast, have at least 10 episodes recorded to give your new listeners a chance to know you, to binge listen, because most people, they from time to time, they want to listen to more than one episode to really, especially if they like you. They will listen to your first 5, 6, 7 minutes. If they like it, they will listen the first episode. And if they like it, they will want to go and watch or listen a few more. So make sure you have some content available for those people. So go and record at least 10 episodes before you press the publish button. And you can use your social media to promote your upcoming podcast launch. You're on social media. You can do joint ventures. You can do cross promotion with other people. You can go on other podcasts. Speaking of that, on Friday I will have a killer professional on that. Misha, some of you may know him. He's got an entire program on specifically that, how to go on a podcast tour, which is get on 50 podcasts of the exact ideal audience in the next I believe 90 or 100 days. And that's something I'm part of it myself, because I want to go on a podcast tour as well. So that's if you want to go all in and do that. And of course, you can do it the old school way and getting all your friends, family, your neighbor, your barber, your pizza delivery guy, and everybody. Even put stickers on your car, get a mug, get a hat, a t-shirt. Anyway, you can to promote your launch. So other things I would recommend is build a website and start collecting emails. This is especially very important. And that's something that I knew it, but I didn't pay attention to that. And shout out to Louisa for pushing me to build my own email list. Thank you, Louisa. And yeah, that's very important. And also you can start doing, as I mentioned earlier, cross promotions, joint ventures with other audiences. Here's a big one that a lot of people are sleeping on, including myself. And I need to wake up from that, actually implement that myself as well. Start using press releases. They're incredibly powerful. And by press release, it doesn't have to go right away to the major networks, national, international. Go to your local ones, to your local TV, radio station, even your local newspaper, because these guys are always starving and looking for local people who are doing amazing things. So spend an afternoon, Google out to create a press release, and spend an afternoon looking the email address of all the local journalists in your area, and just send them your press release to them. Even if you have, at that point, it's just a numbers game. Yes, all you need is just one of them to say yes, and once one of them says yes, then you can use that to approach others, and then within a few weeks, few months, you can be all over the place. You can be on major national, international outlets. So again, press releases are something incredibly powerful, and please don't sleep on that. And this is a topic that I go way deeper inside my academy, which is beyond the scope of this today's lesson. But again, press releases can be a game changer, guys. So don't sleep on that. And going on a podcast too, I mentioned that. So be sure to attend Friday's class to listen to Misha, because he's going to blow your mind away. All right. And then the monetization part. So my premise inside my academy is I show you how to launch your profitable podcast, and in 3 weeks, and once it's launched, within 30 days, you will be able to get leads on demand of your exact ideal leads, highly responsive, highly warm, and very qualified, so that you can start getting paid client within 30 days. That's my premise. That's my promise to you. Once you start launching your podcast with me to my academy, and you follow the steps that I teach you. So again, you will be able to achieve that even if you have no audience, without spamming, no cold calling, no DMing, and none of that, and no ad spend. So again, and how is that even possible? I mentioned that to you numerous times before, is because again, at that level, when you're selling high ticket, it's not about numbers. It's about the connection, the trust, the rapport you build with people. And you will be using a podcast to build that connection, that trust. So this is how I've been able to, so again, I've explained that to you before. I'm going to fly through that. The traditional way to monetize a podcast, a YouTube channel, is build a massive audience and then make your money through sponsorships, downloads, and viewerships. That's good. That would only apply to you if you have an existing massive audience, or if you're an existing celebrity, or if you have multiple, you're a world-class renowned expert in your field. That's the way that 99% of people are pushing to get monetized. But even to get to that stage with YouTube, to be able to be monetized, you need to have 4,000 hours of watched hours plus 1,000 subscribers. For me, it took me a year to reach that, a year. So for those of you who don't even have that, I don't know how long it can take you. If you have an audience, that can be very fast, but if you don't, to even qualify to be monetized by YouTube and Google that way, so you need to, again, reach 4,000 watched hours and 1,000 subscribers. So again, this is why I don't even bother with that, because my channel is very small and I don't get, I get very little views. So I wouldn't be able to qualify to get monetized. And if I were, I would need to have, like, say, hundreds of thousands of views per videos to make any amount of money that would be meaningful. So this is why I don't even bother with that. The way that I'm showing it, I've done it, I've taught my students, is to, again, clarity is the name of the game. This is very, 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 very important. This is the cornerstone. This is the foundation. The more clarity you have as to what is your zone of genius, what is your gifts, and who's your exact ideal client, and what is the number one pain point you're helping that person solve and address for them, that's what's going to allow you to start attracting the right people, so you can make money, and meaningful money, high ticket clients, through your podcast. So yeah, I already went through that. Oh, here's a powerful, very powerful, actually game changer, even a life-changing principle that applies to not only business, but also to anything in life. And that is, never put yourself in a position to ask, beg, or chase. Instead, invite. So for example, if I were to, let's say we didn't know each other, if I were to cold DM you on Facebook or on LinkedIn, I would say, hey, Phil, hey, Rosemary, Sophie, Angela, my name is Payman. I'd like to see how I can help you with your business. If I were to reach out to you that way, three things would happen. No answer, not interested, sorry, I'll leave someone else, resulting in less than 1% conversion rate. And that's what the majority of people are doing. Before, it used to be smile and dial. Now it's spam away, spam people. And what happens if you spam too many people? You get your account shadow banned or completely shut down by Facebook. That's what 99% of people are doing it. That's not sustainable, because you will burn out and you will run out of people, literally. But instead, again, identify who's your exactly listener, identify what is your number one pain point, identify where they hang out, and simply invite them. Now, contrast that to, hey, Phil, my name is Payman. I'm the host of the Leads Web podcast. I love what you're doing. I love your faith-based approach to business. I would love for you to come on my podcast, share your story. Now, you would be much more interested to say, oh, absolutely. Just say when. Just send me your calendar. And in 3.5 years, I've had only 2 people say no to me to come on my podcast using this approach. One, I mentioned it was because she was just about to give birth, and we rescheduled it in a few weeks after. And the other person was about to move from the US to Germany. And again, we postponed it to another time. So when you approach people that way, you exactly the audience. From my personal experience of my students and all that, 99% of the people will say, oh, absolutely, just say when, send me a calendar. Because again, and even apply that approach even with your family, your children, your friends. Stop asking them. For example, let's say you just work with someone, you help them achieve results, and if you tell them, hey, Mary, hey, John, could you please do me a favor and send me a quick testimonials? Sure, they would do it, but you would have to ask them and beg them a few times. That's not a good place to be. Instead, ask them, hey, John, Amy, it was awesome talking to you. I started my podcast. You're just starting a podcast. Say, hey, I loved working with you. I loved the result that you achieved. And I would love to showcase you on my podcast to have you come share your story. You approach them that way, they will be the one chasing you. They will be saying, oh, absolutely. Just say when. Just send me your calendar. So this is why this principle is incredibly powerful. Again, print that, put it on your computer somewhere, memorize it, because that's the single most important principle that completely changed my life and allowed me to see how I could monetize my podcast right away at a time when I was completely broke. So again, never put yourself in a position to ask, beg, or chase. Instead, invite. This is incredibly powerful. Does that make sense, guys? And this exact method they used allowed me to get over 325 incredible guests on my podcast and having getting over 100 high-ticket clients with a YouTube channel of less than 200 subscribers. Again, it's not about numbers. It's about the connection, the trust. So now you have two options. You can either say, oh, this is cool, but does it apply for me? Or you can do something powerful and ask yourself a very powerful question. How can I get my exact ideal leads on demand, even if you have no audience and without spamming? And that is by studying your profitable podcast and YouTube channel, where you simply invite your ideal prospects, your existing listeners, prospect, and clients, and you build that trust, and you take them down the journey from becoming, from being an unknown, a stranger, to a prospect, to a raving fan, and then to a client in a very short amount of time by just having conversation, heart-to-heart conversation, without selling, without pitching, and just, speaking from the heart. So I have a special invitation for you guys to get on a quick call with me to brainstorm further as to what is your zone of genius and how we can implement that for you. It's a free call. It's not a sales call. It's a free call to see how we can do that for you. I will leave my calendar at the bottom, so feel free to book a time with me this week and next week, and we'll rock and roll. So I'll put that there. So day 3 content is done. Any questions so far on what I just shared with you guys? Let me check the chat before we take any questions. Okay. Awesome. Yes, I will put the Calendly link in the chat. Let me just stop sharing for 1 second. And where's my Calendly here? And I will also share it in the on the Facebook group. All right, let me go back to the sharing. Where's my sharing? Okay, right here. Okay, any questions so far about anything I covered today? Let me check the. That's exactly it. Yes, Sophie. Yes. Look into your background. Do an inventory of everything you've accomplished, everything you've done, everything you've overcome, anything that you love geeking out, anything that people know you for, people go to you, ask you about whenever they have an issue, they come to you. These are perfect places for you to start looking at what is your zone of genius. All right. Thank you, Louisa. Thank you for being here with us. Don't go, guys, because we still have the best to come. We still have Jillian's talk. And so if you have no more questions, let's go to, let me quickly, a sneak peek into tomorrow's content, day 4. Please make sure you come here tomorrow, because not only tomorrow is going to build on what we did today, but also I have another equally incredible guest tomorrow. But first and foremost, we'll be talking about creating your Godfather offer. We're going to be building your laser-focused Godfather offer. We're going to identify, based on today's work, what is your number 1 pain point for your podcast and an offer that you address. This is an incredibly important notion to have in your business, and that is your quantifiable, measurable end results. So what is it you do? How long it takes? Doing what? For example, for me, I help you launch a podcast in 3 weeks and then start getting leads on demand within 30 days. That's very specific, very concrete. and all that, as opposed to let me help you become a six-figure coach, which is way too vague. You will overwhelm the person with more question and answers, and when someone is confused, they don't take any action. So that's what we're going to tackle on tomorrow. It's going to be beautiful. Plus, I have an incredible guest. Let me just put it that way, that it's going to be all about a killer copywriter, someone that worked very closely with Alex Hormozy. So some of you may know her, and I'm incredibly excited to have her tomorrow. So anyways, who's coming? Oh, Susan. Okay. All right, perfect. So if you have any question about today, please ask away. If not, we'll move on to Jillian's feature presentation.
All
Okay.
right.
Angela. All right, make sure, Angela, you watch the replay, because that's going to be gold. Okay. So let me allow you to share your screen. Okay, 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right, Jillian, the floor is yours, my friend.
Awesome. And I'm thinking maybe 15, 20 minutes for anyone
Yes.
who's, wondering time. I'll try to go through this quickly. Real quick, Payment. I think Sophie had something in the chat about
Oh,
genius.
yes. Okay, so sometimes I hear people talk about other genius, the skill they find most. Oh, let me just go back to the chat so I can read what you said. The thing we don't have to try at. Yes, the thing we think that isn't special because it's so absolutely. We take for granted our special gift because there's nothing special for us. We all do that. But that is your goal. That is your gift. That is your zone of genius. So look into all of this. Take a piece of paper, sit down, and do some real brainstorming. I will share the slides of today's talk later on. So go to the slides, watch this today, and just put 20, 30 minutes and really take this seriously. Do some real brainstorming. This will help you not only for your podcast, but also your offer, your messaging, and of course, your business. So please take the time to do that. Okay. Jillian, floor is yours, my friend.
Perfect. And you can see my screen okay, Payment?
Yes.
Perfect. So I wanted to kind of walk through, because I'm so in this right now and have been working on it the past 6 months. It's so fresh to me. I kind of wanted to walk you all through. And as we go through this, sort of share my experience. So as I had said, I started my sales consulting in 2023. It was something I always wanted to do, but I wanted, to get more experience, another degree, whatever the case may be. And so when I really started this process, when I started thinking about what is my zone of genius, I sat down many years ago and was like, what jobs did I enjoy the most of all of them that I had? And they were all customer facing roles. And so I grew up on a farm. I tease that I've actually been working since I was about 3, helping my parents sell. And so it was always in these customer facing roles, and was like, I want to be in sales, but I wasn't quite sure what that looked like. So the second thing that I did is I looked back, and for any of you, if this helps with ideas, is I looked back on like reviews from my bosses. I looked back on recommendations I had on LinkedIn, any customer feedback, any emails, for some of you who have maybe customers that have sent you feedback as well. I was like, started to kind of collect some themes. What was I hearing from them? What kept showing up over and over? And so there was things such as like natural leader, or things that happened organically within my role. I was often tapped to train new hires that came on. So it was like a natural training thing. And there was, I mentioned Anita, Hope, and Jeff, because these were people that were on my team that I naturally sort of mentored. And so the reason I'm sharing this is just think about things that you, kind of to Sophie's point earlier, that you might do so naturally that you don't even really think anything of it. To others, it's, and that can really be your zone of genius there. So after spending some time with that, I was like, okay, I want to be in sales. And I had other struggles. We all have struggles, but with sales, I knew that I could monetize it. I knew that I could teach it to other people, and it fell within the health, wealth, or relationship category that you hear so much about. So I understood the nuances and wanted to help other people with that process. So then in step 4, when I started my business a few, 6 months or so ago, my help statement was, I help companies, teams, and individuals improve their sales processes and get ROI. It was pretty vague. And I sort of looked at the market to see who was I attracting. And I went into it thinking I was going to help more individuals and account execs with their sales, but I was actually attracting more founders of small startup companies. It wasn't necessarily these teams at Oracle or some of the companies I thought I was going to get, because these companies already had a sales team or a sales manager. And so I started to narrow that down. And then I realized that founders were my avatar because they had pain. They were also B2B that I had sold in, and there was urgency. And then it was like, okay, do I want to focus on men or women? Right now, it's about 50-50. I might even narrow that down even further. And then I started to get these founders on validation calls and say, hey, you know, I'm hearing this. Can we dig deeper on that? And I really started to dive into those pain points more. And then I was asking them, what's your learning style? You know, if I were to put an offer or you were to do a project, work with me, you know, what might work for someone? You know, a lot of them were like, I wouldn't really have time for a course, or that wouldn't work for me, but this over here would work. So I think finding out what is that learning style and then putting an offer together based on that. Is that helpful to anyone on the call to walk through that?
Yes, very helpful. Love that. Love how you mentioned that step 1, step 3, step 4, and all that. That's perfect. May I use that for my next presentation?
Sure.
I'm joking.
Yeah,
No, that's
absolutely.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. It reminds me of the
Jillian-
game on The Price is Right, Plinko, right? You start out here
Yes.
and then you kind of see where it whittles down to.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Phil.
Jillian, I love the question asked about learning style, because I think we lose a lot of potential clients because we may be working in a style that they are not familiar with, that they don't prefer, that they don't have the time for. And certainly as we're, you know, launching, asking those kinds of questions can make a world of difference, that you can then begin to plinko the thing down to where it's actually going to be. Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Phil. I'm glad that was helpful because, you know, just a quick note, I was talking to a founder and I was like, well, I created an 8-week course. And he was like, I would never do an 8-week course, you know, and nothing against courses, but that wasn't his learning style. And so then he directed me to another, and I'm like, oh, thank you for telling me that. So yeah. All right.
So the
Good.
question
I'm
was,
glad that-
what is your learning style? That's the question.
what was for this particular founder?
Yes.
Oh, his learning style
No, no,
was
no. What I mean is the question that you asked, and the comment that Phil made, that he loved the question you asked, which is, what's your learning style? I'm just taking note. That's why I'm asking. Okay. I think that's it. I will have to rewatch it and I will get my answer. Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, just thinking out loud.
Yeah, no problem. I just to reiterate, Payman, I had asked the founder on the call during the validation call what his pain points were, and then I said, how would you kind of want this delivered? And I told him I had the 8-week course, and then he was like, that wouldn't work for him. He didn't have the time. He would never spend time on a course, and he wanted to do more of an intensive type learning. Does that help clarify that?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. And then the other thing here too for Zone of Genius, I hope this is helpful, but we talk about what comes naturally to you. So again, just sharing my experience is I said to myself, I was like, what do I find myself talking about with my friends? I'm a big trail runner here. And so I'll be out on a trail running with my friends and I'm talking about sales, I'm talking about strategy and business. And I thought, oh, I seem to talk about these things a lot. What does that mean? And so maybe asking yourself that same question when you're on the dinner table or with friends, you know, what is it that you're talking about? Again, paying attention to what feedback have you gotten from others? And if you're not sure, just ask. You know, sometimes I'll call up a friend or an old colleague and say, hey, when we were working together, was there something that I did that you really admired? Or I'll ask my husband. And so I think just asking your people in your network, they'll give you honest feedback of what is surfacing. You know, what is it that doesn't seem like work? It just happens naturally. Most satisfaction in abundance. So in your Zone of Genius, they talk a lot about when we talk about what's natural, it's like, what works for you, where you're not going out and trying to maybe do something that works for somebody else. And you're spending a bunch of time learning a whole new skill that maybe you're not great at, you know, so really focusing on what is it that comes naturally where you can get a lot of satisfaction and abundance, and and it feels like time like flies by. For me, it's prospecting. It's like, oh my gosh, I got so much out of this and the time just flew by. And let's see what else. Another thing too is, do you find that certain people are coming to you for advice? Are you naturally giving out advice? For me, it was like sales and business advice. I didn't even realize I was doing it. So that might be something you want to think about. So just taking note of those common themes. And then the other piece too is monetizing it. So it's not only what do you love, but it's what does the world need? How can you get paid for it? And how are you great at it? So you might see a payment. I think you've seen this too with the 3 circles. And it's like, what am I good at? What does the world need? And then how do I get paid for it? You kind of want that to match up. Hopefully that helps.
Yes.
And then when we talk about, let's see here. Oh, I'm going to go back here. Okay. The ICP. So this is sort of the total addressable market. So if you're not quite sure what that looks like, kind of what I was talking about was I had sales, and then I went down to a subset of that. And so really thinking about what is my competitive advantage, kind of like what I was showing in that first slide. Is it male or female? When you're looking at your ideal client profile, do they have a certain title? Are they of a certain age, education experience? Kind of learning more about their lifestyle. What events are they hanging out at, or what groups? You had mentioned that payment on like Facebook groups. Where can you find this ideal person that you can get close to? Again, what's their learning style? And this is really important. And I put on here make or break, because this is really the foundation. You can have the best messaging in the world, but if you don't know who you're going after or how to speak to their pain points, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So you really want to know what is the best way to serve them, and who are these people, what is their pain point? And so it's a, I think it's homework and research at the beginning, but it's going to set you off on the right trajectory for the rest of it.
Yes, absolutely. I think Rosemary has a question.
Yes, Jillian, this is great so far, but I do have a question about this part of it when you're narrowing it down to male or female. Let's say you think it's going to be female. Would you still get some male prospects coming in?
Yeah, such a good question, Rosemary. I'm going through that right now myself. I'm like, maybe I'm going to focus on female, but then I also seem to be getting male as well. For me right now, I'm keeping it open to both, because I'm a little bit nervous about excluding one or the other. I think if I
Me too.
tend to keep attracting more females, I might, that seems like down the road, I could segment it. I would say if you have both coming to you, I would keep it open for now and then see if it naturally goes one way or the other. Is that helpful?
Okay. Yeah,
I may-
that's the train of thought I was thinking, but then as you're talking about, oh geez, maybe I should just go the one way, but no, thank you. You just confirmed my thoughts. Thank you.
That's a great
bet.
question. If I may share just my experience quickly. When I first started my podcast, my goal was to work with male entrepreneurs. And then within a few weeks, I realized that 90% of my clients are women, 90%. So I had to readjust. So again, it's good for you to have an idea to start with, but be open-minded and pay very clear attention to the data that you get from the market, especially from your paying clients, because that's the only data that really matters. So pay attention to that. Just want to share that with you.
I also wanted to mention that I have been following some YouTubers, and they were just having a conversation about what their ratios were between men and women. And one person draws a lot more men and the other person can't. And so they were talking about, like, I wonder why that is, and like how she's structuring content. But I don't know that it's one way's worse than another. It's like who you're wanting to work with.
Yeah, I think it does kind of shape. It kind of takes a shape over time, and can be a couple different variables. So I agree, Sophie. Kind of have to just see. I think it's a little bit of testing and trying, and
Depends on your messaging, depends who your message resonates with the most.
mm-hmm.
And this is why it's very important to have clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree, Payman. And then for me, for example, like what I'm finding with these founders is they typically tend to be a little bit younger so far, the ones that I've been talking to. So there's a little bit there of like, when we talk about, how old are they? So just kind of taking into all those considerations and what's my messaging going to be for them, maybe versus a, different demographic.
Absolutely. Johnny.
Quick, yeah, just on that, with what I had to offer, a lot of people were saying, hey, this is what men need and that. So I started reaching out to men and men's groups and all of that, but it's not so much what men need, but whether they're willing to engage. So then I started engaging with more women in how to manage men and that. So yeah, it was interesting that the people who were wanting to engage with a woman, but they were quite often wanting to do it on behalf of the men who weren't really interested in making changes and all of that. So yeah, it was a bit of a round circle.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, Johnny. Things sort of I kind of had a similar experience when I was focusing on AEs. I thought that was the way to go, and then realized, oh, it's actually, I can apply this actually for the founders who are going to have a group of AEs. And so I think it just, over time, you realize some of these things and you change course a little bit. Yeah. So I think that's a really good point. Sophie said, it's interesting to think about how our message connects to pain points of different people. Yes, absolutely. I think for our messaging,
Absolutely. Yes, totally.
Our audience. Did you want to add to that, Payman, or anything?
No, I actually agree with this because again, it's all about having clarity on the pain point and speaking from the heart. And then once you do that, then people will resonate with you. And again, you're not looking to target a big number of people. You're looking to target a small segment that deeply resonate with you, that deeply.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you, Leslie. Please make sure to watch the replay because what she's sharing is absolutely gold.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, I just got a couple more slides and then we can wrap up.
Yeah.
But just around mindset, talking of check the chat here. Your presence. Oh, thank you, Kimberly.
Indeed.
It's very kind. Thank you so much. So nice to be with you all.
Okay.
So with the mindset piece, this is something I've had to work through as well. And I think it's just an ongoing journey for all of us. But when I really looked at it in this lens, it really made a lot of sense. And so if you think about anything that you've ever gotten for free, whether it's a free PDF or a free whatnot, or do we really go back and do we put the same value on it as when we've paid for something? When you ever think about something that you've used for free, and the same goes for our offers. So if you decrease the price on your offer, that really decreases the emotional investment from your client and perceived value of their service. So from a psychological standpoint, and this is, I'm using this, and then I also read this in Alex Hormozi's book as well. So it can't be that good if it's so cheap or perceived like everyone else. And so you really do want to have that strong offer that people have skin in the game. And if they get it for free or it's discounted, that will, if they're not invested in it, that's going to decrease their results. And then if they're not invested and they didn't get results, then it's hard for them to be a referenceable customer. They might think, well, this didn't work for me. And it's not that your offer wasn't good. It's that they didn't use the offer to the extent that it should have been. So then they didn't have a good experience. And then the other thing too, is that now you might have a lot of clients and you're stressed out and there's not enough time in the day and it destroys any margin that you have. So it's like, how do you give your clients a good level of quality and service if you don't have the money to do that with? Is that resonating?
Absolutely.
Okay. The good news though is on the flip side, when we increase our price, we increase the emotional investment for our clients. There's a greater perceived value of service. They're going to get results because they're like, hey, I just put down $5,000 for this, or whatever it is. That hurts the pocketbook a little bit. and they're going to, they're going to want to see those, they're going to be invested because of the money they've spent. They're going to get results. You're going to track those best clients. And now that they've gotten great results, they're a great customer, they're referenceable. They might even, give you referrals. And now you have that extra money to invest in a great quality and great service. And so kind of payment, like you were saying before, when we're online, we're not trying to get every user on Facebook to be our client. We want like a handful of really good clients that are going to pay us for a really good offer. And then now we're like, we can give them the best service because we're energized, and we can make that investment in them. I think the other thing too is really having that certainty in our offer. So when we go through that discovery is, you're here, you want to go here, and I'm the best person to help you with that because of A, B, and C. To use Jay Lee's analogy, they're here, you want to be the drawbridge that they walk across to get to that result. So I always try to remember, be that drawbridge. And then I put Xanax versus meditation here because I think Alex Hormozy does a great job of laying this out in his book. And so when you're talking with a client, just try to keep this in mind. You want your client to, not only do you want to have a good offer, but you want them to get results quickly, and you want them to feel like their whatever you're offering is that they can do it, and it's going to be easy for them to use, and it's going to be fast. So his analogy in the book is, let's say you want to be relaxed. You could do meditation, but it's going to take a while. You may not have certainty that you can do it, and you may not even have certainty that it's going to work for you. But if you take a Xanax, it's going to relax you, it's going to work quickly, and you're going to get the result that you intended. So in the book, he says, I'm not proposing one over the other, but just try to keep that in mind for your offers. They want results, they want them fast, and they want certainty they can do it. Payment, I think about you actually when I talk about that, because when I signed up for your podcast course, I was like, oh, I'm so busy. I don't think I can do this. And I kind of had some objections around it. And you were like, Jillian, it's 1 hour on Mondays and it's 30 minutes a day the rest of the week. And you made me feel like I can absolutely do this, and it's not going to take a lot of time. I'll pause there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this. And this reinforces what I've been sharing with you guys past 3 days is whenever we're looking to hire a coach, we need to have these 3 key questions answered. Number 1, is this person competent enough? Can I trust him or her? And number 3, can I do it? Sure, she did it, he did it, but what about me? Can I do it? And podcasting is the best way, from my experience, to be able to achieve that to your people. The most important question the people that you're trying to sell are talking or asking is, after, is this person the right person? Can I trust them? Is, can I do it? And you were saying you're busy. I structured my program in a way that was for busy people. And that's something I mentioned earlier. Build your podcast, build your offer, build your program, whatever it is, the way that you wished existed when you started on your journey. Make it for you, because you want your avatar to be not just as close as to you as possible, but make you the you of, say, a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a couple of years ago, to be the avatar you're creating this for. If you can achieve that, then you will be very successful. So yes, so thank you for your feedback, Jillian. Love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you were like a model, a person of that. And I'm like, I have to remember what Payman did, because you got me over that objection. And then I think the last couple things here is, something I've been working through, and I just wanted to share my experience with all of you is, for example, there's a lot of sales coaches that are out there, and I try to, I think sometimes it's easy to get into the comparison game, and I have to just remind myself that we are all unique. There is no Payman out there. There's no Rosemary out there. There's not another Phil or Johnny or Sophie. I'm just looking at the people that I see on my screen here. There's not another Jillian. And I'm like, it's easy to compare. And I'm like, no, they don't have the corporate experience, or they don't have they have their experiences and I have mine. And so when I'm on a discovery call with someone, I just try to remember, like, I'm going to share my truth. I'm going to let them share their truth, let the pieces fall where they may. And if it's meant to be a fit, it will be. So just remember that no one can replicate you. And sometimes when I'm posting on social media, I stress a little bit about, is anyone going to say anything? Do they like my post? And then I have to remember the attract and repel. And the people that like what you're putting out there are going to be attracted to you. And those are the people you want to work with. So again, not everybody has to love your stuff or love you.
You know, beautiful. You remember one thing we talked, me and you, when we were on that call that you ended up joining my program that night. I told you, Jillian, there's only one of you. Do not, I told you literally, I beg you, don't suppress your personality. Don't be too corporate-y, because that's boring. If you have a personality, if you're quirky, a sense of humor, show it loud and proud, express it. And that applies to all of you. Let your personality, your sense of humor, let that shine, because the last thing people want is to see a polished, robotic, boring corporate guy or girl. No, nobody wants that. Be you, authentically you. Speak from the heart. You know, joke when you want. Add some humor, your personality, whatever. Do that, because people want to know who's Jillian, who's John. Just look at the people on the screen. Who's Sophie? Who's Phil? Who's Rosemary? First and foremost, as a man and a woman, before the business person. If I connect to you as a man to man, man to woman, then it's much more likely for us to talk and do business than if we don't. Because again, business is a relationship nurturing process. We do business with people we like, trust, and relate with. So do not suppress your personality, sense of humor. Of course, within reason. You don't want to be seen as a clown. So yeah, guys, this is very powerful. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Absolutely. And I talk about that because I've had to work on those things myself. But absolutely, Payman. I remember that conversation well. And so I guess just with this slide here, it's just, remember, if you're feeling like, I want to discount my offer. When it comes to negotiation, I would hold off on discounting and try to find another way to make it a win-win. Is there something else that you can give the client that's not going to take the money out of your pocket? So how can you stack your offer? How can you, is it lifetime access to your course? Is it the templates? Is it, try to think of other ways besides the price, and just remember that it should sting a little when they pay. Because when you put yourself in their shoes, when you think about something that you paid for, that you were really invested in, and that, you really got a lot out of, it might've stung a little bit, but you knew that it was worth it. So I think our offers are the same. And then the last piece there is just, if they're invested, they'll get results. They're going to get more value from you than anybody else. And then that's how you win.
Absolutely. Totally. Preach, sister, preach.
And then I think just, as we, for the discovery call, I know in software sales, this was actually the reason a lot of deals were lost. It was one of the first steps in the process, but it was because we didn't qualify the client well enough. And I had my fair share of those too. But again, you share your truth, they share your truths, and then you're asking open-ended questions. So you want to be sort of micro closing as you go through the process. So when you share, what questions or feedback do you have? How do you, and I put the 9 steps here, but really understanding what is their current situation? Where do they want to be? How can you be that drawbridge to help them to get there? Really understanding what have they tried so far. And the reason you want to ask this question is because it's a win-win either way. If they say, I've tried 10 coaches before you and I feel really burned, they're coming to you for a reason. So that's a great opportunity for you to differentiate yourself and just dig deeper and say, what was it about that program about these programs that you didn't feel like worked for you? And then they can share, they weren't available, or whatever it is. You can make sure that you're not that person, or that you don't offer that. You can know what their hangups were and try to avoid those pitfalls to help them have success. If they say, I haven't tried anything, well, great. This is a brand new opportunity to help them on that path. So it's really good to find out what they've tried. What do they dislike with their current approach? What's not working for them? And when you know what's not working with them, you can share with them what you can do. Again, know what those dislikes are. So you don't, if they say, I don't like this, you're not pitching the exact same thing that they dislike. Again, so then how do you help them to go from A to B? And then finding out what, if you could wave a magic wand, essentially, what does that win look like for you? At the end of this, how does this look for you? And then sharing that you can match that and offer that, agreeing on the plan, and then moving forward. And then, you know, asking people too, when you're want to get them on a call after you've identified the pain points, would it make sense for us to explore working together?
I love that
Proposing some
question.
times. Yeah. And then getting on a call. And then the last thing I was going to say about the discovery too is what really has been helpful is some pre-qualifying questions. So in your Calendly, asking them, you know, do you have, you know, money to invest in this? You can ask like, are you willing to invest up to, you know, 4 digits or however you want to put it. So they know that it's going to be, you know, a certain amount and more, probably 5,000 or more. I guess that, you know, however you want to phrase it, but kind of some of these questions. What have you tried so far? What are you hoping to get out of the call? So that when they come on the call, they know that this is going to be a sales call and you'll be prepared. Also, by having like a video prior to that discovery call, it's sort of a litmus test. You know, if they take the 2 minutes to watch your video, it shows their level of seriousness. But if they didn't even watch the video before your call, how serious are they? So you can use that to test it too.
Powerful indeed. Are you guys taking notes? This is gold.
I hope this is helpful.
I'm very glad this is being recorded because I'll definitely be watching it again. And yes.
Good. Okay, awesome. Just I didn't want to be telling you guys things that you already know or, you know, being redundant.
Are you
Okay,
gonna
good.
are you
All
gonna,
right.
are you gonna share with us the slides, Jillian?
Yes, I'll be happy to do
Awesome.
that.
Thank you.
Bet. Sure. Not everyone has to love your stuff or you. I love that. Good. I'm glad that resonated, Sophie. One of my coaches one time told me, and I never forgot this. She said, I can operate independent of others' opinions. And I was like, oh, that is so powerful. I can operate independent of others' opinions. So if someone's not your person, that's okay. You can still have a podcast. You can still build a business. You can still go out there and kick butt. You know, you don't have to be held back or fearful because of what other people think or say. Perfect. Okay. Yes. All right. I just want to see if there's any questions. Okay. I don't think so. So then just on some of the most typical objections that we get is someone might say, you know, I need to think about it, which we hear a lot. So I try to remember, Proof was my client, so it's in there, but I try to remind people, and this would happen a lot in software sales because sometimes the sales were like 9 months to a year long and people would forget why they called us in the first place. And so I would try to take them back to remember all these pain points that you told us about because they've looked at a lot of vendors and they've gotten lost in the sauce. And so just try to bring people back if they share that with you, you know, and then we discuss these XYZ. Sometimes they're going to have multiple pain points. So really trying to dial in on what is that biggest pain point? You know, like if someone, for example, says they want to lose weight, well, what's the biggest pain point? What's going to get them the biggest gain? Because they're probably going to have 4 or 5 other things that will benefit them. But what's the main thing that we're going after here? And then also saying too, you know, after we get off the phone, you're kind of alone with your thoughts, but I'm here right now. You know, the decision's not going to get any easier after we hang up. I'm here right now. Let me answer these questions for you while we're on the call. And then if you sense some hesitation or some concern, just call it out and say, you know, Rosemary, I'm feeling like maybe there's some hesitation or concern. Is there a better way is there a way I can support you? And I think a lot of times people bring their guard down and they're like, oh, thank you so much for asking me that. You know, this is actually what's on the top of my mind. And you can kind of help work through that. So just some ideas if you get that response as an objection. And then I got one more slide here. This kind of freezes up a little bit. Okay. Oh, and then the budget piece too, you know, I think this is where finding out in the pre-qualification call if they have budget. Another thing too is, let's say they're a great fit. They check all the boxes, you know, just sharing with them, hey, we've got everything sorted. I'd hate to let price stand between us. I really think I can help you get from A to B. What can we do to make this work? Ask them that question and let them tell you what works for them. Maybe they're like, I can only pay 500 right now. Maybe you take a deposit for 500 and then say, okay, in 2 weeks, pay me the remainder, or do a payment plan and break it up. But I would try to meet them where they are. If they say I need to talk it over with a spouse, that's a common thing, or another team, finding out when is that call going to happen, and then, okay, let's set up a call for tomorrow so we can get a response. Otherwise, if it's left open-ended, tomorrow comes and goes, and then you don't get an update on what that was. Also asking, hey, is that person available? And could they just get on the call right now? And can we talk? And if they do, then we want to make that conversation for that person. So we want to make it about them. Hey, spouse, I'm talking through with Bob about these concerns. Like, really make sure you address whatever that person's issues might be. And then the other thing too is when people have a pain, it's like, well, I'll wait till I get the money before I buy your offer. And it's like, okay, so you're going to keep doing the things that you've been doing in hopes that something's going to change to make this money. And so it's like, okay, if you're not going to work with me, then sort of what is that plan? Asking them, what's that plan then to get to where you want to be? So it really comes down, do they want to stay stuck where they are, or do they want to move forward to what they really want? Is that helpful? With anything?
Powerful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad this is recorded. I will rewatch it myself.
Okay, beautiful. And then I think just, when it comes to negotiation, just being really relaxed, calm, confident, trying to find ways that you can align with them, make it a win-win. And then just from a psychology standpoint, like you said, payment, I put that on there. Always invite. You never want to chase. People buy emotionally, but they justify logically. So when you think about when we've made a purchase, I've done it many times myself. I'm like, oh, this sweater was however much money, but I'm going to have it forever. It's like deep down, I know I'm not going to have it forever, but I'd like to think I am. Or, we try to justify emotionally or logically, but we buy with our emotions.
Speaking of that, I gotta put you on the spot, Jillian. So when you said yes, enjoy my academy, what was the thought that went to your mind right after we finished the call?
I joined because I felt I wanted to get leads, and it was like, this is going to be a great way for me to get leads and not have to chase people and do it the more traditional way. It was like, I'm going to invite my ideal ICP. For me, was looking for a different way to do outreach besides email and sort of the typical stuff. And I'm like, I want to have conversations with people. And it just felt like a very organic, natural thing for me. That's why I said yes, Payman.
And did that live up to expectation when you started taking the program?
Yes, you did. You did. Absolutely. You absolutely did. I learned the whole process, and you made it easy. I felt like I could do it. And I felt like it seemed like such a harder lift. And then the way that you broke it down, I felt like, oh, I can absolutely do this.
I'm delighted to hear that. I'm honored. Can't wait to see your podcast. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think that's it. I'll stop sharing, but
wow, was that amazing or was that phenomenal, guys? Put 1 if it's amazing, put 2 if it's phenomenal, and put 3 if it's fantabulous. I'll put 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, sweet. Oh, thank you. You guys are so great. So just open for questions or conversation, and I hope
Please
that
put
helped.
also your contact information if people want to connect with you.
Yes, beautiful.
Don't be shy.
Let's see. Okay, so I'll
Remember
give you
what I
guys
said?
my email.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys
Thank
my
you,
email.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the fastest way to reach me. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you guys all for the nice comments. My pleasure to share. Thanks for being such a great audience and
Very
letting
welcome.
me share that.
You're amazing. Love your passion, your energy, your drive, your heart. So I'm your biggest supporter. So anything I can do to make you shine brighter and continue shining, Jillian, just ask away. I'm here for you.
I know you are. You've been so supportive too. But maybe when I went through the podcast, I wasn't on Facebook, but you sent me everything on LinkedIn. Like, you were I felt very well taken care of. And email. Yeah, I had you working overtime. So you were wonderful.
No, absolutely. It was pleasure. It was pleasure. Love that. So guys, any question for Jillian? Questions, comments, feedback, compliments, don't be shy.
I can't think of anything right now, but other than this was totally amazing. I missed it the first time around because this is my second time. I wasn't able to attend, listen to you in person, but Jillian, you're awesome. I learned so much, and I'm going to utilize a lot of that even in my presentations, and so thank you so much for that. But I have your email address, and I'm sure I will be in touch.
Okay, sounds fantastic,
Okay.
Rosemary. Thank you.
And payment,
Yes.
yes, Jillian, I agree about payment. He really knows how to make things simple and easy to learn, doesn't he? And and you can feel the heartfelt care and drive that he has to help others.
Absolutely. It's just like you're just like a big hug, isn't it, Rosemary? You're just like, I just feel
It is.
taken care of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm blushing, guys. Thank
So
you.
thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Payman.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Rosemary. I'm so glad you enjoyed it and it was
Thank you.
helpful.
Any more questions, guys? Bring them on. Susan, you've been awfully quiet. That's very un-Susan-like. That's not voom-voomy.
Oh my gosh, I'm operating on 3 hours of sleep. So yeah, it's just one of those days.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
But thank you for welcoming me, my dear friend.
You're very
Hi,
welcome.
Sophie. It was great, Jillian.
You're welcome, Suzanne. I'm so glad you were here.
I just want to do a quick shout out for Suzanne. She's amazing. She's wonderful. She's a phenomenal heart, powerful story. And then she's doing right now something amazing. If you can quickly tell us 30 seconds what you're doing right now, those beautiful books, tell us about it.
10 days left to capture joy stories. It's book number 1 in my children's book series. So there's a Kickstarter campaign. You caught me off guard. I don't even have my link available right now.
Okay,
I'll put it in tomorrow. Yeah,
right.
I will. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're doing, and yeah, you're amazing, Susan. So thank you. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Sophie, any question?
No, I'm just excited about it all. This is great.
Awesome. Happy to hear that. I'm not gonna
I
put you
like
on
what you
spot.
were talking about with micro closing and kind of thinking about like how you move through it and it becomes this like conversation where you're checking alignment along the way. That was cool framing to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Good. That's a great point, Sophie. Thanks for actually bringing that up. I'm glad it was helpful. And then from just like a psychology standpoint, you kind of get people primed to say yes, so you're like micro closing them of like, how does this work for you? Does this sound good? Yes. It's like by the time you get to the close, sort of yes is already, so it's just interesting how that works from a psychology standpoint.
I love that. I'm taking notes. Micro closing, learning new things all the
The
time.
energy builds.
Sorry? Micro closing. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Love that. Love that. Awesome. Johnny.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jillian, and so much to you, Lorenzo, as well. It's really, as I'm the little fish stepping out into the big pond, there's so much advice, and I'll ask 10 people and get 20 different answers. And a lot of it has been this whole cast a big net and you might catch a few fish kind of approach. But from here, what I'm listening to and engaging with, which really resonates to me, is coming from my heart and the quality. Everybody's been saying, oh no, that price is too much, you got to bring it down. I'm talking about, $1,250 to $2,000 on my programs, and people are saying, no, sell them at $29.99 and get 100,000 people, and it's like, wow, that it doesn't resonate with me. So thank you both so much. This is a place I really needed to land with it, because to me it's also about self-value and not undervaluing myself and the gift which I have, and that. So thank you both so much.
Pleasure, Alumni. If I may add one thing about that, the right people will find you. The more clarity you have, the more they will find you. And also This is something I've mentioned many times. It's powerful. Never sell your time. There's always a limit to how much you can charge. Never sell information because it's all can be easily found online for free. Instead, offer transformation. If what you're offering is built upon transformation, is transformational and transformative, then when you tell them my price is $29, and I don't mean $29, but $2,995, they will not bat an eye. So you want to get to a point that what you're offering is something, just like Jillian said, bridging the gap between where they are to where they want to be. You want to be the bridge, and you want to be the bridge that's going to allow them to achieve something tremendously transformational. Look for what kind of transformation you can offer and deliver, not sell, but offer and deliver to these people. The bigger the transformation, the more impactful it will be, the deeper the connection will be, and also the more you can charge. Not in a sharky way, but in a really meaningful way. Because again, when you connect heart to heart, then money becomes just secondary thoughts. It's about, can I trust this person? Is this person the right person? And can I do it? Always keep in mind these three questions and see how you can offer transformation. Not sell your time, not sell your knowledge. Sure, those are important, but ultimately people want about transformation, going from where they are to where they want to be the bridge. That's a very well way to put it, Jillian. So
I just wanted to add, Payman, Johnny, to what you said as well on that topic. Because I've been going through that myself a lot. And as someone who's new to kind of online, I had to like learn the whole social media thing. I was like, I just want to help people sell, but I got to learn how the whole social media world. And it's like the last 6 months, I've just had so many, so much information, coming at me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I take in all of this all the time, I'm not going to get anywhere. And I didn't know who to listen to. It was just like my head was spinning, and I go online and I want to do a post, and then I'm looking at what someone else posted, and I was like, I got to just shut down all the noise, and I just got to do what feels congruent to me and my heart. And just like you were saying, Johnny, just follow what feels good to you and you'll do the right thing, because otherwise there's just too much noise out there and you can't absorb it all. And no one knows you and your offer and your people like the way you do. You know it best. So follow that. That's what I had to do. And I feel so much better.
indeed.
Thank you, Jillian, because otherwise I just become part of the noise.
Right.
And the very thing that I'm helping people in their transformation is to step out of the collective noise of life.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm, in my marketing approach, just part of that, then I just become another freebie on their desktop that's never been read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And people will be attracted to your authenticity and your style and you doing you being you. So people will be attracted to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And let your personality, your sense of humor, all of that shine through. Don't suppress it. That's very important. Awesome. Any more questions, guys? This has been so far the longest call so far, almost 2 hours, but it's been 2 hours of pure amazing content and fun, interactive, engaging conversation. Bring him on. Just like Phil would say, Phil is left us. Speak your mind or hold your peace, something like that, forever. So any questions? Any questions, comments, compliments, either for Jillian or for me or for anyone else in here? Yes, thank you, Sophie. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yes, I will have to write this down so I remember it once and for all. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I just have a quick question for everyone here. I got off of Facebook just for a little while. Speaking of what we were talking about, I just wanted to kind of focus. So how can I connect with all of you? Are most of you on LinkedIn too? Or I'm going to get back on Facebook, but I'd like to connect with everyone.
Facebook here. I tried LinkedIn, but got a bit confused.
Okay.
Jillian, maybe you can share your LinkedIn link here, and you guys can connect with her.
Okay.
I thought your website, Susan, was vroom vroom. Susan vroom vroom, because I don't think vroom vroom is available anymore, but Susan vroom vroom.
I know, right? It's from the garage to the track, remember?
I know.
Yeah.
yeah, guys, so connect. And if you want to get on a call with me to further brainstorm, let me also put my Calendly here. Where's my Calendly?
Mhm.
All right, guys. So if you have no more questions, let's call it a night. It's been 2 hours of absolutely amazing content, conversations, fun. I love it here. I woke up at 4:49 this morning. I was that excited. But you know, when I was working, I was just telling Jillian before going live, I have a very light sleep, and I was, you know, sleeping with one eye open. I was dreading at this kind of nightmare that I would be waking up late for my call. I put my alarm clock to 5:40, but then I opened my eyes and it was 4:49. The normal me would have said, "Ah, it's okay, I have 1 more hour, it's okay." But then, because I was so excited, I said, you know what? Let me wake up right now at 4:49. So yeah. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making time in your busy schedule. Now go ahead. It took you 8 years to close 30 million. Now you have eight months to close 300 million. Okay. Now that you have all this knowledge, all this experience, all these people around you, and little me here on the sideline, you know, to help you further. So go out, get your podcast, make your personality shine. I want your podcast to be full of. I want to see. Let people know who's Jillian. Let people see, not just for you, but everyone. Let your inner child shine through and through. Seriously, guys, because this is what's going to really connect you to the people, to your people. If you're being too professional, too corporate-y, next. But if you show, like, this is what I love about Suzanne. Vroom, vroom, you know, that's what she is. Former professional racing car racer, you know, so.
Mhm.
And I want to see your podcast and your business about you know, about mechanics for men and women.
Men and women.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
So,
Let's do
anyway,
it.
yeah. Next, Sophie, great question. Next week, anytime after 8 p.m. Eastern, that's 7 o'clock in the morning for me. These are the best time to connect. Yeah, my Calendly, book a time, we'll rock and roll. And also, I want you and everyone else that haven't had the honor of having my podcast to come share your story. Except you, Suzanne. I've had you too much on my podcast. I'm joking.
Too much.
No, too many times. No, I want you again.
We
because
went around the track so many times.
No. We'll definitely bring you back again. We have so much
Love to be on mine.
Oh, I want to get you back as soon as your campaign is over, your Kickstarter, to get your feedback on that, to get your thoughts on that. Hopefully you will reach your goal. So guys, go and give her a hand. She's doing something phenomenal, a beautiful book for children. They're not expensive. They're beautiful. Give it a little push. We have to help each other. And Suzanne is one of
Thank
the
you.
most amazing human beings that I've met over the last 3.5 years. So go help her.
Thank you. Thank you all. Anybody with grandkids, kids, anybody who knows kids, y'all know kids. Let's.
Oh yes. And
I'll
she
need
sent.
more joy.
Okay, good night, everybody. I
Bye,
have to
everybody.
go. It's
Oh,
late.
spicy Suzanne. I
Bye.
like that. Jillian. Okay, good.
Look out. Ciao.
Ciao, bello. Ciao a
Ciao.
tutti, belli brutti. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Shine your light.
everyone.
You know that.
Right. Good selling.
Ciao. Ciao. Thank you, Jillian, again.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care.